Alrighty, welcome my friends to another episode here of Extreme Health Radio. Glad to have you here with us. This is going to be a really cool show. We got Dr. Nick Berry on the show, and we're going to be talking with him, diving into the world of essential oils and seeing and learning how essential oils can help you and different ways that you can start incorporating essential oils into your life. I was telling Nick before the show, we recently had to reschedule with a really great woman in, I think, the UK, who part of her strategy for her body getting rid of some cells in her brain, I won't even use the C word, but part of her protocol for helping her body to do the healing was the essential oil of frankincense. So I'm not even going to make a claim, but that's just what I'm going to say. So essential oils are very, very powerful. So we're going to dive deep into this subject today. So let me just give you guys the show notes for those that are listening on the podcast version, or if you want to grab the show notes, anything like that. It is episode 629. So if you want to grab the show notes or links to any of the sponsors, anything like that, just go to extremehealthradio.com/629, and you can grab all that information there of everything that Dr. Nick and I talk about today. If you're new to the show, we broadcast 3 days a week on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, trying to get as much information out to the people as possible, helping people to heal and helping people get healthier. So the shows are Monday, Wednesday, Friday at, 10:45 a.m. Pacific time. I was just looking at a chat room question, but 10:45 a.m. Pacific time is when the shows go live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So make sure to join us on YouTube, on Facebook. You can get all the links on extremehealthradio.com. Let me share with you some of our upcoming shows. I think you're going to like it. We got some cool guests coming up. Let's see. On Friday we have Krista Gerard, and we'll be talking with her about. She's from the Center for Systemic Healing, which is cool, right? We'll be talking with her about paradigm-shifting systemic family constellations, healing at the heart of the matter. And that's a really fascinating way of looking at healing, that we're all tied to our ancestry to some degree. And it's very, very deep work that she does. And family constellations therapy, recall healing, some of the spiritual, emotional stuff is where I believe the true healing happens on that level. So that'll be this Friday, 10:45. Next Monday will be Dr. Brian Moll, Mowll. We'll be talking with him about diabetes, blood sugar, and metabolic health. So that will be really cool. That actually ties into our course. It's going to be released this month inside the Extreme Health Academy, all about diabetes and blood sugar issues. So you might want to check that out if you're interested in that, extremehealthacademy.com. And then next Wednesday, we're going to have a real fireball on the show. He's a cool guy, really, really cool guy, Wayne Blakely, and we'll be talking with him about probiotics and minerals specifically, and the connection between the two and your health, your gut biome. He's from Living Streams Probiotics, and we recently put his products in our store because we really like what he's doing, Wayne Blakely. So that'll be next Wednesday. All right, so let me bring up Dr. Nick's bio here and tell you a little bit about who he is and what he's up to and all the good stuff he's up to. He's a licensed pharmacist and a compassionate human being. He stays on the cutting edge of holistic wellness and botanical medicine. He likes to call or refer to himself as a holistic pharmacist, and he's been helping thousands of people around the world with their health issues, and some of his products he does at Essential Oil Wizardry, Doctor of Pharmacy, University of Pacific in 2006. So been doing some good work. Let me bring up his thing here really quickly and bring Dr. Nick on the show. Turn his audio on so everyone can hear him. And is my audio on? I hope. Yeah. All right, good. All right. What's up, Nick? How are you, my friend?
Doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Yeah, man, it's been a while trying to get you on. I know you're a busy guy doing a lot of traveling, right?
Yeah, it's been a wonderful year. I've been doing a lot of anchoring into our new facility in Ashland, Oregon, and
Oh,
I just got back from a 1 month playcation in California and really got to connect with some friends. And I hosted 6 different essential oil events while I was on the road. And life is quite full and enjoyable.
wow, wow. Do you do those little those little vacations often and go and do that kind of stuff?
I would say about once to three times a year. I like to get out and kind of share the essential oil magic and wisdom and products and connect with community.
Wow. So you're up in Ashland, Oregon. Is that what you said?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. And do you like it up there?
I'm loving it.
Yeah. That's awesome. Where did you come from somewhere else and recently moved there, or have you been in Oregon for a long time?
Yeah. So I've been in California for a majority of my life. I was in San Luis Obispo. That's where we had our last commercial facility. And
Oh,
I had a Indiegogo campaign last year and a vision to move up to Ashland, Oregon to start our process of extracting medicinal herbs and plants and really take our company to the next level. And so here we are.
that's awesome. Yeah, I've been following some of your stuff on Instagram and all the videos you're doing. It's pretty cool stuff. And so you did some talks introducing essential oils to people?
Yes, that's accurate.
Yeah, wow, wow. So when people come and they hear you speak about essential oils, are they typically people that are well versed, or are they learning a lot for the first time?
I would say that it's multivariate.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes there's people that are very new to the world of essential oils and were recommended to come by a friend. Other people have experienced essential oils before. Some people are, quite used to our products and formulations, and they found them to be particularly helpful in their own lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was funny because I was trying to share. I shared with you before we went on the show about the story of that lady in the UK who got healthier and was able to get her body to do some healing with regards to some extra cells in her brain. And it's so funny how you kind of have to dance around these things, and you can't really say too much because you don't want to make any claims. And, just being on the inside and hearing and listening to what other companies are talking about and people coming after them, it's like this is a big deal. But at the same time, you want to get the word out, man. Essential oils are powerful stuff, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, they're pharmacologically active at very low concentrations, Justin.
Mm-hmm. And so let's talk a little bit about essential oils, what they are, and why they're different. Essential oils, from what I understand, are very energetically enhanced, right? Because it takes, like I think I was reading somewhere recently, it takes thousands upon thousands of rose flowers to actually make a few drops of the rose essential oil. So they're extremely concentrated plant substances, right?
Absolutely. So I can give you another example. It takes approximately 19 cups of peppermint tea steeped for about 15 minutes
Uh huh.
to produce the same number of constituents found in one drop of peppermint essential oil.
Wow. So 19 cups of peppermint tea would constitute one drop of essential oil of peppermint.
Yes.
Wow. So how are they? So my question is, like, when they have essential oils and you guys are sourcing, I mean, how many pounds of material, where on earth, because there's a lot of companies producing essential oils, how is there enough if it takes that many, that much plant material? Where is all this stuff being grown, and how are they procuring all this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely large scale farms all over the world that are producing different medicinal herbs and plants. I'm fortunate to be at the small to medium scale in terms of being an essential oil company. So I'm able to work with smaller producers and artisan distillers to produce, a liter of essential oil for me is able to go relatively far, especially when I'm formulating really targeted therapeutic formulas,
Mm-hmm.
because smaller amounts of the essential oil can go into a finalized product which delivers specific therapeutic goals.
Interesting. Okay. So, in terms of like the amount of material from a plant that it would take to produce some essential oils, is rose the plant that is necessary to sort of necessitate so much material? Like, is that the hardest one to extract oils from?
Um, so one of the smallest yields from plant material off the top of my head, and being that I'm just getting involved into the extraction of plants, I haven't looked at a complete list of all the plants and their essential oil yields. But I am familiar with Melissa, also known as lemon balm, having an incredibly low yield. Even though it's quite an aromatic plant, it produces a very small concentration of essential oil when you are producing it through a steam distillation.
Interesting. Yeah, it's just fascinating how these things get created and get made. Is it true, do you think, that, a lot of people will say that, you would never find an essential oil in nature and therefore it's not good for the human body. There was a lady on our
Mm-hmm.
show a while back that was saying the same thing about coconut oil. And although it's true, you wouldn't go through a forest and find coconut oil. She was saying that, it's important to eat the whole food. So eat the actual coconut and not take the coconut oil. But I think there are a lot of things that aren't necessarily natural. Like a green juice, the hyper concentration in a green juice isn't necessarily natural, but there's a reason why it's a main staple in the Gerson diet in overcoming cancer and the healing arts and things like that, juices. So where does essential oil fit in that sort of realm, do you think?
Yeah. Well, that's a great question. So, from my perspective, essential oils do exist in nature. I mean, these aromatic constituents are found in the plant material in very small concentrations. Now, talking about these aromatic molecules, which are found inside essential oils, they're different alcohols, esters, ketones, all types of different plant constituents. So, taking a step back and asking, what is the purpose of these constituents when found in nature? These molecules are messenger molecules, and it's
Hmm.
what plants use to communicate in nature. They create a beautiful aromatic smell to attract a pollinator. They produce different therapeutic effects for different species of animals or humans, which creates an incentive to replicate and to keep growing the plant and to propagate it elsewhere. So, this intelligence has been in plants evolving for millions of years. And so, over the past 1,000 or so years, distillation has been a new type of technique to really concentrate what is already found and present in nature.
Hmm.
And we're really learning more about what they can do therapeutically speaking.
Yeah, it's interesting because it seems like essential oils would be on the complete opposite side, doesn't it, of something like homeopathy, where you're essentially
Hmm.
using the vibratory frequencies of a substance and distilling that down and making it so that the actual substance is no longer in the actual the medium. And so it seems like essential oils is completely the opposite of that, right?
Yes, essential oils are completely the opposite of homeopathic principles because essential oils are taking plant material, concentrating it down, and
Hmm.
with that, you get a very rich bioactive material, a very rich substrate. And I believe it was Dr. Ethan Russo. He did some research on terpenes and their therapeutic effects and found in very small concentrations, in as little as 0.05%, some of these terpenes have pharmacological activity in the human body. And so, by having an awareness of how the different constituents work inside the physiology, and also having an awareness of how the foods or the plants might work just as a tincture or in a tea, you can really start to intelligently design very targeted formulations to really aid with your lifestyle.
Yeah. So how do you target these formulations with people? Like, do you find out what they're sort of missing or what's going on in their life and then sort of target the frequencies towards them? And is that kind of how it works?
Yeah, so over the years, I've created a different bandwidth of lifestyle solutions, everything to support like bug bites, burns, inflammation, stress, broad spectrum antibacterials, different lifestyle solutions that can be really supportive. And so, how I love to engage with people, especially if we're going to create a custom blend for someone, I like to inquire, well, maybe this is something that I've already developed. And
Mm-hmm.
so would you like to share with me what's going on in your life? What would be the ideal scenario for you to get to that next level of wellness?
Yeah, yeah. So you kind of target and tailor everything to them. It's interesting because the more that I do research on the body and the electrics of the body and how the body really is like it's essentially a repository for energy, our bodies. And the more you start looking into light, water, and magnetism and how frequencies affect the body, it makes a lot of sense that when you're ingesting substances like this or substances like homeopathy, where there are two opposite ends of the spectrum, you're dealing with the energetics of the body. And it makes a lot of sense that you would be able to target using essential plant, oils. It makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, with your own journey and with your own sort of research into this field, how are you using essential oils in your life? Do you use them? I'm sure you use them every day, right?
I would say that I do use essential oils very regularly. My regimen definitely shifts, day by day. I feel that my physiology and evolution has developed to the level where I remain in a very strong homeostasis
Mm-hmm.
typically. And so I'm able to utilize these essential oils to really help to balance my system when I feel that there's something a little bit out of balance. I also do have certain botanical ingredients that I do use every day.
Mm-hmm.
Just before we got started on this podcast together here, I hopped out of a shower, and there's a number of different things that I like to use on my body every day, just to really help with healthy, vibrant skin. In the shower, I used some CO2 extracted sea buckthorn pulp on my face, which is rich in different essential fatty acids. And I applied some CO2 extracted saw palmetto, which is great for urinary tract health.
Mm-hmm.
And I also applied some of my formula that I call sexy hair into my hair at the end of my shower. And so there's lots of very targeted ways that we can work with essential oils on a day-to-day level. I feel that many people first starting off with using essential oils, depending upon what it's being used for, having more of a biorhythm or a regular schedule with them can be really helpful as people are starting to get more into tune with how the essential oils are working in their physiology.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that as I continue to develop, they really work as these tools. And so if I have this awareness that my body is feeling a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right, I know which tools that I can incorporate to help bring my body back to an immediate balance.
So there obviously needs to be some sort of education too that happens with essential oils, so that you know what to use. If you're getting a sore throat, or if you're getting, if you want to use a deodorant or something like that, like you really need to get educated on which oils do what. Then.
Absolutely. Education is very crucial with essential oils, and there's so much information out there that is, everyone has their own perspectives, opinions, and there's some of it that is blatantly dangerous. There's some of it that is cutting edge. There's some of it that's super conservative. And we really got to do our best to integrate all the information that's available to us and to really discover what's best for us.
Hmm. So you mentioned getting into like a routine. So it seems like something that would be helpful for people to start out with would be using essential oils in your oral health and tooth care routines. Is that something that could be done? And that would essentially bring a really great routine because you'd use those every time you brush your teeth.
Hmm. Yeah, so one product that I formulated, I call it Oral Krishna. And Oral Krishna is a combination of organic peppermint, cinnamon bark, CO2 extracted clove. It's got eucalyptus and it's infused in fractionated coconut oil. And so this is a broad spectrum antibacterial, antiviral that is really nice. I've had a lot of people report that it makes that they've experienced their teeth becoming more white after using the product. And so I've used this particular ingredient alone without any other toothpaste or other tooth care ingredients. I probably did it for about a year and a half just with that by itself. I'm now currently combining it with other materials that have small levels of abrasives, and one of the ingredients in our oral Krishna formulation, I also added in helichrysum and CO2 extracted curcuma, and the CO2 extracted curcuma xanthorrhizia has been shown to have effectiveness against Streptococcus mutans, which is the number one bacteria found inside our mouth. And so, being able to look at some of the literature that's available on PubMed and through different research, we're really able to target really customized formulas that are helpful for people.
So when someone uses these essential oils for their health, or I'm sorry, for their oral health routines, are they just putting a couple drops on their toothbrush and doing it that way?
Yeah, so to be really clear, something that I want to mention is that pure essential oils, as I gave you the example, are very, very strong. And so oftentimes my experience is a pure essential oil is too much information for the human body.
Hmm.
And when you use a pure essential oil initially, even if it's just for a few seconds or moments, there's going to be an initial shock.
Hmm.
Okay. And so, after that initial shock, the body says, oh, okay, this does this. Let's send it to, my liver. Let's send this to my kidneys. I'm in pain here. Let's send this here. And it has, there's a process of being able to redirect the really powerful essential oils. And so in my formulations, what I've been doing is I've been diluting the essential oils so that it's more ready to roll for specific purposes. So our oral Krishna is infused in fractionated coconut oil, also known as MCT oil. And what I do is I take one of the roller bottles and I roll it onto a wet toothbrush. And so, there's probably, if I was to do a quick estimate, I would probably say somewhere about 10 to 20 milligrams of essential oil that goes on to the whole toothbrush in the admixture of MCT oil. And then if you're also adding in your favorite toothpaste that you like using, then you're also further diluting that, and so you can still receive some of the therapeutic benefits associated with those essential oil products, and you're doing it in a way that doesn't initially shock the mouth.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot. It's really a lot of information, like you said, right? Because when we eat food, we really are just consuming light and information. Really, that's what it's all about. And so when you are hyper concentrating plant substances like essential oils, man, that's a lot. you know?
It sure is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been learning so much more about the concentration and the potency of plants since I've gotten into the field of extracting. Earlier this year, we actually acquired some ultrasonic extraction equipment, and we've really just started experimenting and scratching the surface on what's available. And about a month ago, we explored doing an extract on some locally harvested mugwort. And truthfully, I'm blown away at what we've been able to produce from this technology.
So, talk a little bit about CO2 extractions and why they're different than other types of extractions, because there's lots of different ways to extract, right?
Yeah, totally. So, there's four different extracts that I'm presently familiar with and kind of integrating into our line. So, a steam distilled essential oil is the traditional steam distillation process using water as a solvent, heating the water into in a closed system,
Mm-hmm.
and typically the plant material is raised above the aqueous solution that's getting heated, and then the water comes up through the plant material. The aromatic molecules get pulled out of the water, and it goes through the closed system into a collecting flask. It goes through a condenser, which is cooled, and so the steam turns back into a liquid. And you then have two layers, an aqueous layer and an oil layer of the essential oil. And so that oil layer, that's the essential oil concentrate, and the aqueous layer is called the hydrosol. So that's what a steam distillation is. The
Okay.
CO2 extraction process utilizes carbon dioxide as a solvent. And so CO2 extracts produce really clean and concentrated therapeutic extracts. Our extractor says that CO2 extracts are approximately 2 to 3 times more potent, therapeutically speaking, than a steam distilled essential oil. So, you know, what happens is using immense pressures and really cool temperatures, CO2 gas is going to be cooled down into a liquid, and then that liquid is run through the plant material. And then it goes through these very high pressures, which is able to pull out a majority of the aromatic molecules, some of the lipids and waxes as well. And over a period of time, the aromatic molecules are pulled out of the plant material, and then the liquid is run through the system into a collecting flask, and then the liquid, when exposed to normal conditions, will turn back into a gas. So 100% of the CO2 solvent is going to leave the solution. So then you're left with a very concentrated extract. Something that's important and relevant to know about CO2 extracts is that they're going to concentrate everything that's in the plant material. And so if you're not using organic or unsprayed plant material, you're going to concentrate those nasty ingredients into your final product. So that's a little bit about the CO2 extraction process.
And
Um,
now, how long have they been doing the CO2 extraction? Is that a relatively new thing?
That's a great question. I don't have the exact date on how long that's been going on. I would say it's just been a few decades, and also that's not a very educated guess on the history. What I can say is that it's very likely gotten a lot more popular use and also development in terms of the technology as it relates to the cannabis industry.
Very, very fascinating. This is really, really interesting. Hope you guys are enjoying the show. We're with Dr. Nick Berry. This is episode 629. If you guys are listening on the podcast version in the future, you'll be able to get all the show notes and everything over at extremehealthradio.com autoimmunepharmacist.com/629. And let me bring up Nick's website here. It's really cool. Essential oil wizardry. He's got like all these different cool products, but man, just looking at all the different blends and different things he has is really fascinating. CO2 extracts. He's got rare exotics. Let me look at the CO2 extracts here on Essential Oil Wizardry. So this is really cool. I highly recommend going over there and checking out some of his products and seeing and learning more about what they all do. And maybe when we get back, he just brought up cannabis, and we have a question from the chat room from Odette's Days about cannabis. So we'll ask him those when we get back. And also, if you guys have any questions yourself for Dr. Nick, make sure to ask them in the chat room. I'm taking questions now on the Extreme Health Radio YouTube channel. So if you guys want to put your questions in all caps there, that will be really, really cool. So this is interesting. Just recently we had a guest on the show. You guys might be familiar with him, Brian Hoyer, and he came out. He kind of did something similar to what Nick was just doing. He lives, I think, somewhere in the Midwest. I think in Ohio, but he goes out to different places around the country, and what he'll do is a home assessment. And there's a interview with him on our YouTube channel if you guys want to go check that out. But he'll come to your home, and you can hire him, and he'll do a whole EMF home assessment on your house. And this guy is incredible. Like, just listen to the show or watch the show that we did with Brian Hoyer. And so essentially what we found out was we are living in an EMF nightmare at our house. And there's a 5G tower that's being erected right next to our neighborhood, and so because of these situations, we are looking now to move. But what's interesting is that there's dirty electricity. So with the 5G tower, something I've been learning recently is that the 5G antenna and the amount of electricity coming off of those things actually jumps onto what they call dirty electricity in your walls. So if you're living near a 5G tower, which we all will be one of these days, you're probably going to have some really, really significant dirty electricity in the walls. And dirty electricity has been shown to affect insulin levels, diabetes, blood sugar issues, all kinds of health implications as a result of dirty electricity in the walls. And with the electrical system that we're using, the alternating current, we should really be using direct current, but for some reason we went with the alternating current, and that's causing all kinds of issues. So what he has is these it's called the Power Perfect box, and this essentially turns down all of the dirty electricity in your walls. This still doesn't do anything for the wireless radiation. It's really a complex subject, but we're going to be releasing some videos on our YouTube channel of him testing our home, and you guys can see all the meters just going crazy. And so what this does is it turns off all of the dirty electricity to your home. So it turns down all of that noise in every wall of your house. So I highly recommend this. Brian's work is amazing. So check out the Power Perfect box. And I think he's giving you guys a discount code. Yeah, 5% discount on Extreme Health. So make sure to check that out. Something else that we've been using as well is the Juve red light therapy. If you guys haven't looked into what light does on the body and how specifically it affects your mitochondria. Mitochondria get affected by temperature, vibration, sound, frequency, but most notably light is one of the main ways to stimulate the mitochondria. And as you guys know, we have around 3,000 to 10,000 mitochondria per cell and 100 trillion cells in the body. So really optimal health is focusing on mitochondrial health. And so light is one of the best ways to do that. Even better than the Juve is to get out in the sun. I mean, return to nature. That's what it's really all about. But there are times, in our lives where we can't get outside as much. And so that's why having some of this stuff in your home is really important. And here's a picture of me on our Instagram standing in front of our Juve with our little rebounder there and our sauna in the background. And this is a therapy I do every single day. Red light therapy is tremendously beneficial. It's great for so many different things. It helps with sun-related acne damage. It helps collagen production in the skin. It's great for use on scars, wrinkles, stretch marks, stuff like that. It's very anti-aging and basically allows the body to carry an electric charge across the mitochondrial membrane, increase electron train transport is what they say. So this allows the mitochondria to actually make more water and hold on to more light. So there's a lot of different ways you can use the Juve therapy and these things. It's a modular design too, so you can actually build something like this guy who's got 4, I think this guy's maybe a UFC fighter or something, but he's got 4 of these light panels on all 4 sides of him. So it's pretty cool stuff. So I'm a big fan of the Juve. I use it every single day, but it's also important to know what time of day to use it because that's really important too. So there's a lot of nuance with this stuff. So let me bring myself back on and let me check to see. Oh, you know what I'll do? I will put the links to the Juve and to the Power Perfect box in the chat room on YouTube in just a second. It should be available in the description as well if you guys want to take a look at that. Let me go back over to the chat room, and I think Odette's Days. There's some good questions. Okay, let me bring Dr. Nick up, and maybe we can get some answers to these questions here on. Okay, so Odette's Days says, what about cannabinoid terpenoids? Are they helpful? That's interesting. Whoops, Doc, I don't hear you. There we go. Nice.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So what I guess I can say is that my journey with essential oils really started by studying more about the cannabis plant. So it was 2011 that I started doing consulting at cannabis clinics, and what I was doing was I was connecting with patients about the specific strains that they were using and being able to look at the different profiles of the cannabis plant, the different terpenes and cannabinoids that were present in the plants. And I was connecting with the patients based on their disease states and able to suggest what strains, or maybe able to reflect which strains and which products might be most helpful for the specific client. And so, as I started learning more about the cannabis plants, I learned about terpenes, which are pharmacologically active at very low concentrations. These are the molecules that are responsible for flavor and fragrance and are found in nature everywhere. So, as I discovered that these terpenes were pharmacologically active, this opened up my eyes to the world of essential oils, which are really concentrated plant terpenes. And so, having this awareness, what I was able to do was I started investing in some essential oils for personal use, and I was experimenting with formulating different creams and lotions for our dispensary clients. And what we were getting in terms of subjective feedback was really phenomenal results. And so that's really what increased my awareness about the effects of essential oils, is studying more about the cannabis plant. And so I think I heard the question, what about cannabinoids and terpenes? They definitely have therapeutic effects. You can look at the literature on pubmed.gov. I mean, there's thousands and thousands of papers associated with different cannabinoids and terpenes. I mean, the US government has a patent on CBD, cannabidiol, I believe as an antioxidant. And so there's plenty of information available to all of us at our fingertips. We just got to be open to it and look.
Yeah, I agree with you. Let's see if there's another question here from the chat room. There's so Thandy wants to know, does clove, frankincense, and coconut oil help to heal cavities?
So I want to be really careful about healing, the
Mm-hmm.
word healing, right? What I can say is that clove's primary constituent is eugenol. And eugenol is a highly antibacterial, antiviral constituent that originally was used in dentistry. So before eugenol was actually isolated, clove oil was an ingredient that was really effective in the field of dentistry. So frankincense, clove, and coconut oil do sound like a nice synergistic combination. Clove is very, very, very powerful. If you're using it on the skin, you're going to want to use a fraction of a percent when you're using it dermally,
Wow.
because it can cause irritation. And so you'll want to be mindful to use small concentrations of that. A formulation that I've had that we've had reports of it being supportive for active cavities. I guess the infection, that swelling in the cavities, is our tooth ease formula. And that has a combination of peppermint, clove, CO2 extracted nutmeg, CO2 extracted frankincense, and myrrh, infused in fractionated coconut oil. And so what I've found is that that's really helpful for pain and can be supportive during infection.
Hmm.
And applying it on topically if there's an external wound and or around the area, it can really help to reduce some of the inflammation and has some powerful antibacterial properties.
Hmm. Every now and then I like to do like oil pulling and things. Do you think that you could combine a drop or two of an essential oil with coconut oil and then do oil pulling that way?
Great question. I definitely think that that can be done. Essential oils are so powerful that they can be caustic. And so, having a low concentration infused in the oil, especially if you're pulling for about 10 to 15 minutes, is absolutely key. So, using a very small concentration of essential oil in the oil that I like to pull with is the direction that I go when I'm infusing essential oils.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I would think that would be the case too. So we have a question here from, I love these names, P Wackett, Piwacket. Pewacket. He or she says, I'm not sure. When I use essential oils, even with a carrier oil like coconut oil, after a few days, my skin gets very itchy and I can't use the oils anymore. Do you have any thoughts on that?
It's so tricky to say because the quality of essential oils is so varied on the market. Justin brought up the question, where is all this huge amount of plant material coming from? If essential oil yields are, a quarter of a percent to 2% for a great quantity of plants, where's all this plant material coming from? And so there's an issue and concern for adulteration. Um, one question to ask is how is the purity of the oil that you're using? Was it, is it a very widespread mainstream product? What's the quality of their starting plant material? The temperatures and the pressures that they're using for humongous industrial production. Other things that can be related to is there could be a reaction. The essential oil could be having a therapeutic effect, and there's a level of detox that's happening to the body. Um, I'm kind of getting that this might be a case of irritation that's happening, and that you know maybe diluting it further and possibly the source of the essential oil may not be of the highest quality, and it might be reacting with the skin.
Yeah, definitely possible. Yeah, because it kind of goes along with what Jeff Burton was saying in the chat room. He was saying that he got into some serious breathing issues after getting a brand of peppermint that was not from his normal supplier. And so what happened was, I guess he went on to ask where they got the certificate and the state of the purity of the product and stuff like that. And he was just ignored essentially. And so, are there, certificates people need to get or to look for, or how do people know that these things are organic, and what do people look out for when they are going to go buy some essential oils?
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's really tricky, right? Because the regulations are, constantly evolving, and in the essential oil market, it's very similar to the cannabis market. It's like the wild, wild west. And I've received batches of things that are certified organic that don't have a lot of vitality and are not really very fine or high quality. And I've also had things that are that don't have any certifications, where the quality is just absolutely stunning. And so, you know, what I can speak to is that I've been working over the past 4 years in developing relationships with companies, with cooperatives of farmers, with artisan distillers, and doing what I can to really have and build a relationship with individuals and or collectives of people that are producing high quality organic and wildcrafted essential oils and botanical extracts.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I can even speak about my own company. I would say that probably about 80-ish% of the products that I have, I have a certificate of analysis and GCMS, and it is also kind of tricky to make sure to keep that information current with the current batch, and that's something that my small company has not been able to master yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it really comes down to, you know, do you trust the source of who's providing your essential oil products? How are they choosing to find their plant material? If it's a much larger brand that has, nationwide and or international distribution, it's tricky. Where is that plant material coming from? Is it 100% plant material? Because there's not a certification.
Mm-hmm.
Food grade, for instance, is a marketing ploy. Food grade does not mean anything in the world of essential oils. We have a perception of what food grade is, and so I understand when people ask me, is this oil food grade? But it doesn't actually mean anything.
Huh. Yeah, I mean I mean, it's like the Wild West in the sense that this stuff is needs to be regulated, but it's challenging too because when you're ingesting something like an oil like this is super hyper concentrated, like you said, it's possible to get some of the toxins if these things are grown, sprayed with pesticides and things like that. I mean, you're going to hyper concentrate those as well, so it's even more important to make sure that you trust the source, right?
Absolutely. And I think there's something important for me to say about ingesting essential oils because it's a relatively controversial topic.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I gave the example of how concentrated a single drop of peppermint essential oil is. And essential oils are broken down by the liver. And because of our modern day environment with all the EMFs and different chemicals that are laden in our food supply and our water, our bodies are constantly being bombarded. And so, when people are making a choice to ingest essential oils every day, that can cause some therapeutic benefit and it can also cause some stress to the human body. Um, Especially when people are using essential oils internally every day.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it can continue to cause increased levels of stress to the liver. One thing that I've done because taking a step back and looking at the habits and patterns that people are doing, how can I help to mitigate harm, and to maximize therapeutic potential? And so, one thing that I've done is I've created formulas which are different tinctures and infusions infused in MCT oil, where I'm diluting the pure essential oil into organic sugarcane alcohol and or MCT oil, so that when people are making a conscious decision to ingest essential oils, they have something that has a lower concentration of essential oil. So they're still able to get the therapeutic benefit and also reduce the amount of essential oils that they're getting in their overall intended dose, if you will.
That's interesting. Yeah, so that makes sense. And so you provide products where the essential oils are already infused.
Yes, that's accurate. I call them tinctures.
Okay. Okay. Cool. And they usually come with a carrier oil. Do you always use coconut, or are there different carrier oils?
A majority of our products are infused in fractionated coconut oil, which is the also known as MCT oil, and
Mm-hmm.
it's some people know it as liquid coconut oil.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to be a really good carrier because it's shelf stable for a number of years, and it doesn't have its own fragrance, and it absorbs into the skin very well, and it comes from a sustainable resource, and so I feel good about utilizing MCT oil as an oil, as a carrier oil for our products.
Are there certain oils that you would never want to ingest? Like, I'm just thinking about essential oils in general, and I'm just wondering if there are certain oils that you would never ingest, or are the majority of the oils, like, are 90% of the oils things that you would never want to put in your body, but then there's 10% that you can? Or what does the ratio look like in general when it comes to ingesting essential oils and essential oils in general?
hmm So, what I would say is kind of how I reflect on that question is the herb or plant material that we're thinking about ingesting, is it safe as a food or as an herb or as a drug, and what's the medicinal history look like? Um, there's a list, and perhaps it would be wise to share that as a resource with your viewers. There's a list of different essential oils that are not suggested for internal use. Buku is one that comes to mind. I think wormwood is going to be very strong and not wanting to be ingested. Um, and you know, looking at that question as well, the truth in there is at some level it's going to be toxic. There might be a safe dose when you're using it as an herb, and there's probably a middle ground. There's probably a level where it can be diluted as an oil or as an extract, and you're producing a very concentrated tincture formulation. And so, that's kind of the fine line that we have to play with. And I think what's really important is to do our research, to know our risks, and to listen to our body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We've got a few questions here that are interesting from the chat room, and about black seed oil. But
hmm
and so they want to know, is it good? What are your thoughts on it? And then someone else asks about what are the benefits of using this oil topically and ingesting it. A lot of people talking about black seed oil. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, black seed oil is also known as black cumin seed oil. And, that's a product. We have an organic CO2 extract, the black seed oil. I recall when I first learned about black seed oil, it was probably around 2012,
Uh huh.
and a friend lent me a book. And what I read about it was that there's over 100 different phytochemicals that have biological activity, and that it's a really revered medicine, I believe, in both Egypt and India. And the medical doctors out in that region use it for so many things. They use it for bacterial infection. They use it for asthma. They use it for cuts and wounds to stimulate the immune system, and it's a very broad spectrum ingredient in terms of its therapeutic application. In regards to utilizing it topically, I think that it's a great oil. It's rich in different essential fatty acids as a CO2 extract, and also as a cold pressed oil. And so it can be thought of having similar consistency to a carrier oil, very rich and able to hold other essential oils, other therapeutic components. And so different ideas that just come to mind on the fly is you can take small amounts of it and combine it with, let's say, a CO2 extract of turmeric, and you can apply that on topically if you wanted to. I think topically the turmeric is going to have a really fun skin staining, so that might not be the best for topical application. But at some concentration, you would be able to use that as a health supplement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fascinating stuff. I hope you guys are enjoying the show with Dr. Nick. Cool stuff. His website is essentialoilwizardry.com, and make sure to take a look at that. When we come back from the break, I want to ask him some practical questions. Like, we're moving right now into the fall and winter season, and people are going to be wondering about their immune systems, what they can do for a cough or a flu or a cold, stuff like that. And so I'd like to ask him about some different ways that we can start using essential oils in our in our lives, essentially. So we were talking before the show, Nick and I, about his friend Shervine and the good work that they're doing over at Symbiotica. And let me bring that up on the show page here for you guys if you guys want to take a look. This is a really great DHA algae extract. And if you look at the work of like Dr. Jack Kruse, he talks a lot about DHA, but he's really into the DHA that's coming from seafood. And he makes, a big strong argument about seafood being better than algae-based DHA, but then there's people on the other side saying that the seas have become, the pH has been changing due to the acid rain of the oceans, and when that happens, parasites tend to proliferate because the pH is changing in the oceans, and now fish have all kinds of parasites, and so there's a lot of debate going back and forth. But with all that said, at some point you kind of have to make a decision, right, with these kind of health products. I really like Symbiotica. I take it. We give it to our kids. Here's a picture of our bottle here. Let me bring it up on our Instagram. This is actually formerly when it used to be called MitoLife, and so yeah, we take it. We love it. And essentially, what this does is it helps to improve your mitochondrial health and to carry an electric charge in the body. And so, it says here that your body is comprised of 100 trillion cells with a double layer of fat lipids. And so this is pure nervous system food, the Symbiotica DHA. And now it's been infused with astaxanthin, which has its own incredible benefits. It's around 6,000 times stronger, they say, than vitamin C, and 800 times stronger than CoQ10, over 500 times stronger than vitamin E. So astaxanthin is an incredible substance and great to take when you're traveling or to improve your memory. It's just incredible substance. So if you guys like, they were nice enough to give you guys 15% off. So type in the code EHR and you'll get 15% off your Symbiotica DHA algae, microalgae extract. Really cool. And then finally, I wanted to tell you guys about the Relax Far Infrared Sauna. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but sauna therapy has been used for thousands of years around the world. Ancient cultures and civilizations, people have been sweating toxins out of their bodies for thousands of years. And sauna therapy, specifically far infrared light, because this penetrates deep into the body. And what it does is it actually, the frequency and the vibration of the waves penetrates deep into the body. And that has an effect on your fat cells. And your fat cells and your lymphatic system is one of the areas of your body that carries a lot of toxins and poisons. There's thousands of new chemicals being introduced into the world each year. And, we had Stephanie Seneff on the show a while back, and she was surmising, she's going to start doing some research on this, but like glyphosates, 10% of gasoline is made with ethanol, which is derived from corn, which has been sprayed with glyphosate and Monsanto Roundup. And so she's now thinking that we're actually breathing in glyphosates. So if you want to listen to that show, that's on our YouTube channel. You can check that out. But needless to say, if you're living in a modern world like this, we have to have these health tools. It's really important to sweat. Sweating is going to be key for us to build better babies and to detoxify and live a long time. Dr. Rhonda Patrick was saying a while back, and some of the studies that she's showing, a 40% decrease in all-cause mortality for people that use sauna therapy 4 to 7 times a week. It increases your heat shock proteins. It helps to lower blood sugar. It's great for your circulation. It's great for disease prevention. You can do a lot of different cool little protocols too. You can take some niacin. They call that the niacin flush. You can take lipospheric vitamin C or lipospheric glutathione a half hour before you get in, and then you can sweat out even more chemicals and toxins. It's really incredible therapy. And what's cool is your head sits out of this sauna, and I love it. If I was sitting inside of a sauna, I'd just get bored out of my mind. But this way, I can watch Netflix documentaries. I can watch things on YouTube. It's really awesome. And I can't recommend the sauna enough. I really love it. I think you guys will too. So if you're interested, I'll put a link in the chat room. And if you're watching on YouTube, this should be available. The Relaxed Far Infrared Sauna should be available in the description box below. So make sure to check out the Symbiotica and the Relaxed Far Infrared Sauna. And thank you guys for supporting us in our store. This is how we sort of keep the shows free and, being able to do all the work that we're doing, bringing on people into the website. So let me bring Nick back on and let's get into some practical uses here of essential oils. And I'm interested too because, like I said before, we're moving more into fall and winter, and people are running around like a chicken with their heads cut off, worried about getting a flu and getting a cough and stuff like that. So, Nick, I'm curious, in what ways would you use essential oils to fortify and to boost your immune system, and or if you feel like you're coming down with something, personally, what would you do in that case?
Yeah, great question. So I just had a friend come over to the lab yesterday who was coming down with kind of cold and flu-like symptoms. And so I told her to come on by because I have a formula that I call Krishna Immune Boost. And so Krishna Immune Boost is a combination of peppermint, oregano, cinnamon, clove, and eucalyptus infused in organic sugarcane alcohol. And what I like to do is take a single drop on the tongue, breathe it in. And, eucalyptus has actually been shown not only to have antibacterial properties, but also to stimulate the white blood cells. So it literally stimulates the immune system that we have. And so an example of how essential oils work is, they work with multiple mechanisms. So not only is this a potent broad spectrum antibacterial, antiviral, but it also works on stimulating the immune system. And so this product, again, was our Krishna Immune Boost.
Yeah, interesting. Fascinating. I was just bringing up your website there a second ago with some of your CBD products. Now, I know for me, a lot of times what I'll do if I'm starting to get a sore throat or something like that, we have a nebulizer that we use, and we got ours from a company called Omron. And it's really great because it's battery operated, and you can just take it on a plane with you, and it's cool because you can just, you don't have to plug it in. It doesn't make a lot of noise. And I'll put in some silver in there and, breathe that into my lungs. But I wouldn't think that you could use essential oils. Is there any way that you could use essential oils in something like a diffuser like that? Or like I don't mean a diffuser, a nebulizer. Yeah. Is that dangerous, do you think?
I think using small quantities of the essential oils, specifically for a targeted therapeutic purpose for a short period of time can be really helpful. Kind of the next solution that I was going to be suggesting for cold and flu seasons, I have this product that I formulated that I call Respire. And Respire is a combination of peppermint, eucalyptus polybracteae, Ravensara aromatica, thyme linalool, black spruce, CO2 extracted frankincense carteri. It has laleshwa, which is African wild sage, and also niauli. And so that's a pure essential oil blend. And what I like to do with Respire, at first sign of colds or flus, is to take a few drops, rub them into my hands, and just take a few deep inhalations. And you can also massage it into the chest. And so this Respire essential oil concentrate can actually be applied into a nebulizer or diffuser. And you can, in a nebulizer, you can utilize it with your colloidal silver. You can use it for inhalations for short burst therapies. You can also use it in your diffuser at home. So this kind of smells like a minty, fresh, kind of like a Vicks vapor rub, if you will, something similar to that type of scent and fragrance, but more natural, robust, and really targeted for its antibacterial, antiviral properties, and also bronchodilatory effects.
Yeah, that's interesting. Would I put like one drop? Because my our little Omron, the little collector, the amount of silver that I put in there. Sometimes I'll actually too, I'll crush some garlic and get like a drop or two of garlic, and I'll
Oh,
mix it
wow.
in with the silver and I'll breathe that. But would I do the
Mm-hmm.
same with Respire? Just add like one drop to it? Do you think?
I think one drop would be plenty.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting too, because I'm starting to think about like in today's world, we have access to so many unique and different protocols. There was a doctor on the show recently who was talking about a story with I think his niece, and he was watching his niece, and his niece came down with a sickness. While he was watching them or her, and so he was a medical doctor, and he was just it's interesting when you're in that world of being a medical doctor. And so at this time, he still was practicing. And so what he did was he opened up a couple capsules of olive leaf extract and put it on the chest of his niece and added some DMSO to that to sort of drive that constituent into her chest.
Wow.
And she went into like almost like shock, and he was really scared. He actually thought that he was going to have to call the ambulance, and he was for sure going to lose his license and all this stuff. But it turns out a few minutes later her cold broke and the flu broke, and the combination of the olive leaf with the DMSO was helpful there. And I'm wondering now, is it possible, do you think, or could people experiment with DMSO and essential oils? I don't want to get you in trouble here, but
Yeah, thanks
you know.
for presenting such a great question. What I will say is that my personal experimentation with DMSO has been somewhat limited, meaning that I've explored it actually for tooth infections personally, and I've had some pretty amazing results. I think that DMSO is a really powerful and potentially dangerous ingredient. The DMSO, what it does is it is able to take whatever is on the surface of the skin or present in the substrate, and it drives it transdermally into the body immediately. And so it runs the risk of taking whatever might be on the skin and driving it into the blood. And I would say that it, for very specific purposes, people who are highly experimental may choose to go down that rabbit hole. I think that it's not safe. I think that it can be really effective for certain things, but I think there's a lot of risk that can be involved. And so it's not something that I'm going to suggest. I would say that there's probably more safe alternatives that are already available as solutions, and that maybe DMSO can be warranted for a specific individual if they've tried really powerful alternatives already and it's not working yet. It can, kick up the bioavailability and the potency, but I think there's also risk there. So
Hmm.
I guess that's what I'll put into the field of DMSO.
I know it's like you got to tread lightly these days with everything that's going on. I'm curious now. I just want to make sure that we are not making any claims, and we're not saying that essential oils cure anything. We can't say that. But if somebody had a staph infection or some sort of like flesh wound kind of a deal like that, would essential oils be something that you would consider? And if so, which ones and how would you use them on a situation like that?
Mm-hmm. Um, what I can say is that in 2014, I was living on the Big Island, Hawaii, and I was studying with one of my mentors, Will LaPaz. And during my time there, I acquired a staph infection on my foot, and so one of the products that I formulated during my time there, which I actually mentioned on the show briefly associated with oral care, is my tooth ease formula. And what I can share about that is over my time living in Hawaii, there was 4 out of 5 staph infections that used Toothy's formula and significantly cleared up within about 24 to 48 hours of utilizing it multiple times a day. I guess what I can say is that there's certain essential oils which have been found to be effective against MRSA, so methicillin-resistant Staph aureus, which is a treatment-resistant form of staph. And clove and oregano are different essential oils that have a really high antimicrobial activity against this methicillin-resistant Staph aureus. And so I have seen it personally firsthand, both on myself and with some others. And yeah, there are solutions that nature provides.
Hmm. Yeah, I like that because nature always has a solution. Oscar says here, I use lavender oil for burns. It is very important in every kitchen. Also, tea tree with eczema. Have you had any experience with tea tree and eczema?
Um, Tea tree, I have not had any experience with eczema. Lavender, one formula that people have used for eczema that I've formulated is our Violet Chill formula, which is a combination of lavender, cedar, frankincense, myrrh, and helichrysum. And it can help to reduce some of the inflammation associated with the pathophysiology of eczema, and reduce some of the scarring, and help with some of the cellular turnover.
Hmm.
Um, so I have not heard of tea tree being used for eczema, and I think that's really interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, I know. It's cool. It's cool to see what other people are doing. Manny says here, she or he got rid of her knee arthritis by drinking loquat tea, boiled the green leaves, drank them 2 times a day. It also tastes good, 8 to 10 leaves per 1.5 gallons of water. So that's pretty cool, right?
Ooh, nice
Yeah.
health hack.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And then here, Keon says, I like the name, Keeon. Um, woke up this
Keon,
morning. Do you know Keon?
I believe I do.
That's
It's
awesome.
Keon Breezy.
Ah, that's right. That's right. He said he
Hey,
woke this morning with cold and flu-like symptoms, and he says he's had a lot of success managing the symptoms with a combination of immune boost, tincture, and light vaporization of the Respire, okay, and Spark pure oil formula. So he's doing kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah, awesome, Keon. Keon is actually one of our monthly Alchemy Club members and has been a friend for several years. And so it's really great to hear how our products are currently supporting your health. Thanks,
Yeah.
Keon.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's cool. Yeah, so a lot of cool things going on with essential oils. With regards to your sort of current set of research and what you're doing, product formulation and helping people, are there any sort of new frontiers that you're working on? I'm sure you're probably working on new products and things, but do you think there are any other methods of extraction for things like essential oils that we haven't really figured out yet that you're kind of looking into?
Thanks for asking that. That really goes back into the ultrasonic technology that I was starting to speak on a little bit earlier
Uh-huh.
today with you. And we've been exploring. So, we did a mugwort extract about a month ago, and it's remarkably powerful. In fact, mugwort has a very narrow therapeutic usage. At higher levels, it's toxic. And at very low quantities, and I've been personally experimenting with about 1 to 3 drops of the tincture
Uh-huh.
formulation, which is very dilute of the ultrasonic extract. And so, what I found out about 1 to 3 drops of this mugwort tincture is that I find that my waking state becomes a little bit more lucid. I find that my mood will generally elevate. I'll feel a deeper level of happiness and thrill. I find that it can really help to potentiate my dream space if I use it right before I go to bed. And mugwort is such a powerful herb that at slightly larger concentrations, like around 5 to 10 drops, I think some people will have kind of a negative effect with it because it. What I notice somewhere around 10 drops is my electrolytes will start to feel a little off, kind of like dehydration after sitting in a hot sauna is kind of how my body feels if I explore and push myself using my mugwort tincture. But what this technology is providing is a really special way of producing very concentrated full spectrum extracts. And so we actually have our chiller running on, downstairs. And yesterday we started an ultrasonic Damiana extract, and we got about 3/4 of a gallon from a pound of plant material of hydrosol plus ultrasonic Damiana extract. And our mugwort extract, we received about 10% of the ultrasonic mugwort extract. And that was also including some water that we were not able to evaporate. And
Uh-huh.
so that 10% is a very, very high concentration. To be really clear, the ultrasonic extract process is pulling out the essential oils and also other plant alkaloids.
Okay.
And so it's uh, utilizing this technology, I'm finding that I'm producing very concentrated full spectrum extracts. And so I'm really in the beginning experimental phases, but I see being able to utilize different medicinal herbs and plants that are on the market and then creating tincture formulations with it. In the future, I may have this be only available to club members, just knowing that some of the plants are not as well documented. Mugwort, for instance, is one that's more experimental usage and totally not for everyone. And so I may kind of create a container so that club members, are more in the know of the rare and exotic things that we're
Yeah.
extracting.
Yeah, that makes sense. Are there other companies doing the ultrasonic, or is that something that is sort of unique to you? And how new is that technology?
Yeah. I'm not familiar of any other companies producing ultrasonic extracts. I know that ultrasonic has been used to assist in different extraction processes, to increase the amount of essential oil being extracted in a shorter period of time through. So it's kind of like a co-distillation utilizing a steam distillation process plus ultrasonic assisted extraction. As far as full spectrum ultrasonic extracts delivering a finished product to the market, I'm not aware of anyone else doing this at
That's
this
interesting.
time.
Yeah.
And and yeah, they're really powerful, super special. I'm really excited to be
Wow. So, so,
pioneering.
so they're actually more powerful than the CO2 extractions?
Um, I would say that it's a different spectrum. It's not just there's more plant alkaloids. It's a little
I
bit
see.
more of a crude extract, that I would say, and then you're also able to concentrate it down by evaporating out the water. So I'm vacuuming or I'm evaporating out the water using a rotary evaporator and using a vacuum distillation process. So I'm using very, very low temperatures to keep the aromatic material just in pristine condition, and dropping to very low pressures. And I'm able to remove the hydrosol from
Mm-hmm.
the ultrasonic extract.
Mm-hmm.
And so what is going to happen over the next year as I continue to do more extracts, I'm going to find a company that feels comfortable testing our extracts so that we have a better idea of what our extracts are comprised of, the concentrations of those, and then I would be able to give a more complete answer to that question in regards to CO2 extracts versus ultrasonic.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, what I know is that the ultrasonic mugwort tincture, which is our really our first commercially available product, is ridiculously potent. And so mugwort is a very powerful plant, and so I know that that has some aspects of it. And so when I start exploring Damiana, I'll notice a trend on how potent these are compared to traditional essential oils and CO2 extracts.
Mm-hmm. Now, what does the landscape look like with regards to the different plants out there in the world? Because it's sort of like how you'll see a news story about how they will, dive down to the depths of the ocean and they'll learn about some organism that they have never learned about before, and it's like 2018. How are we still finding new things on the earth? But I
Mm.
have to think the same holds true with plants, and some of the things and some of the plants that you might be able to make essential oils out of. Are there essentially unknown plants that have yet to be made into an essential oil? And if there are you kind of looking into those? And
Hmm.
I'm curious about that. Yeah.
Great question. So I've never seen a Damiana essential oil on the commercial market.
Oh.
Um, I'm I'm quite positive that you can distill Damiana and get an essential oil from it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the answer is I am honored to be one of those pioneers exploring different medicinal herbs and plants in utilizing new and exciting technologies and delivering highly potent concentrated products to people.
Yeah, that's super, super cool. Is there a place where one could go to map out the different areas? Because I'm curious for myself. Like, if I were, like, let's say I had a headache, or let's say I had some extra cells growing in my body that I didn't want, or let's say I had this, that, or the other condition. Is there a way to get a list of and map out the essential oils that would be good for certain conditions? Is there a resource online, or do you have a resource for that?
There are quite a number of different resources associated with what you're requesting. So on my website, I tend to avoid specific ailments and indications, but I
Hmm.
do have a large library of different videos and product descriptions that really talk about some of the therapeutic aspects and sometimes the mechanisms of action for individual essential oils. So, essentialoilwizardry.com is a great resource for people that are a little bit more on the therapeutic, I want to say practitioners and practitioners, healers, people that fall under this category. There's a really great book by, I believe her name is Scylla Shepherd Hanger, and I believe it's called the Aromatherapy Handbook, and it's a phenomenal two. It's a two-copy guide on a spiral-bound notebook, and it is a phenomenal resource. And it has categories about every different essential oil, what its terpene and aromatic constituent profile is made up of. It talks about the skin, the body, the hair, the mind, all the different components on how it works therapeutically. And then it also, let's see, is that it?
Is this the right one?
Nope, that's
Nope.
not.
Okay.
Um, what I'll do is after the show, I'd be happy to send you a link. It's a two-part guide, and I want to say it's somewhere between about 80 and $150, and it's stocked full of information. And there's a valuable reference sheet at the end, which goes over all types of different health indications from A to Z, and it talks about individual essential oils that are helpful for each individual disease state. And
That's
that's
cool.
not it as well.
Oh, I thought I had it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's see. Scylla, Shepherd,
Oh, that's right.
Hanger, um, aromatherapy guide.
That sounds like a
I'm
really, yeah, it sounds like a good book to have just on hand, right? And then they could get the products
Mhm.
from you or, um,
Absolutely. Yeah, the book is called The Aromatherapy Practitioner Reference Manual, the complete reference book of over 350 aromatic plant extracts.
okay, I'm going to bring this up on the page for people to look at it. Um, aromatherapy, let's see. That's right. Aromatherapy practitioner reference manual. Oh, I see what you're saying here. So it's like a spiral bound kind of a deal here.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this. Wow, they're selling it for $200. That's pretty crazy.
It's costly, and I mean, one of the best in the field guides that I've had in my career. It
Really?
is so profoundly applicable. I'm able to integrate information really quickly. I used to do lots of different festivals and events, and would be able to use this as a reference when someone would say, "Hey, I have this rash thing," and I would go to the back section and I would look up rash, and then it would have 13 different essential oils, and I would be able to whip something up on the fly for a person. And so in terms of application purposes, it's one of the best books that I've found, and I have a collection of probably 30 or 40 different essential oil books. Another one that is also really wonderful is the safety. Let's see, I'm trying to remember what it's called. It's by Rodney Young and Robert Tisserand, and it's, I want to say, the aromatherapy guide on safety. And I just know it as the safety Bible of essential oils. And that is a really good reference point that takes outdated information, integrates all the research that's been done on safety of different essential oils, and then it creates their own. recommendations, and that
Hmm.
is the book right there. And it's that one is it's a little bit more high end user in terms of a lot more medical and scientific lingo and literature. And it's also a great reference book.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Do you know if the other lady that wrote the first book, is she still, does she sell essential oils?
I don't believe that she does.
So maybe we could get her on the show and talk about her book. That might be kind of interesting.
No, that's a fun little link.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Cool. So, Doc, tell me about some things that you're working on. I know you're working on this new project, and so what else you got going on? I know there's a lot of things happening with you.
Yeah, man. Thanks for asking. What I've been really focused on is developing a nice infrastructure here in Ashland, Oregon. So, my vision for building this company is to utilizing it as a conscious vehicle for creating the world that we wish to see around us.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what I perceive is that by producing different essential oils and growing medicinal herbs and plants and setting up state of the art extraction facilities across the world, we have this ability to bring indigenous wisdom, collaborating with local communities, and really uh, exploring novel plants and being able to explore different therapeutic applications that we can take these finished products, we can collaborate with different institutions and research facilities to look at the types of effects that they're having on the human physiology. With the waking state of where our world is at, with so many new disease states popping up left and right because of so many different chemicals and EMF smog and just the waking state of modern day life. I think it's time that we really deepen our connection to nature because she really does provide all the solutions that we need. And so um, I've been really focused on building a solid platform to share information and high powered essential oil products with the collective. And so we've actually been doing a lot of updates to on our website, essentialoilwizardry.com, where we provide a lot of different and powerful information about individual essential oils and plant extracts. And the goal and the vision is to really take what we're learning utilizing our artisan scale essential oil extraction technology with the ultrasonics, and I would say in the next 1 to 3 years we're excited to scale that and be able to enlist local farmers in the Ashland region to grow specific medicinal herbs and plants, both indigenous to this area and also with targeted therapeutic aspects.
Wow.
And the goal is to really bring community together, increase the amount of therapeutic potential that is accessible to all beings on this planet. And I feel that by putting energy and money into sustainable resources and industries, that we can focus on creating solutions, eventually the problems are going to fall away. They're
Mm-hmm.
going to destroy themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's my intention to continue to get involved with different community projects to be able to utilize essential oil wizardry as a conscious resource as a business that's delivering value added products to people, and to be able to utilize those resources to empower local communities, to empower farmers, to empower artisan distillers, to really create more of the world in which I wish to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, imagine like an essential oil product is only as strong or is only as viable and healthy as the plant was that it came from. And so imagine being able to control a lot of the crops like you're talking about if you're able to use like rock dust or, dilute ocean water for the minerals and do all these different things. Imagine you create the most robust plant, protect it from chemtrails, the whole thing, and then imagine growing that and then distilling that down into an essential oil. I mean, you're talking about something that's probably never been done before.
Mm. Oh, it's an honor to be a pioneer in this space, and I'm very grateful for the mentors who have stepped into my field and taught me, their wisdom and their ways. And I just hope that I can continue to grow in integrity and in service to this planet.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, thanks, Doc, for being on. And man, what a cool thing. We didn't even get into your story because I'm curious. I want to know, how you went from a traditional, doctor in pharmacy to where you are now. So maybe next time we'll have to do something else like that. But dude, thanks for being on the show and thanks for doing the work that you do.
Oh, thank you, Justin. And thank you to all the listeners.
I love it. Yeah, thanks, Doc. I will be in touch soon, and I'll send you the link as soon as it's available.
Beautiful, brother. Thank you so
Awesome.
much for having me on, Justin.
Awesome.
Have a wonderful day, guys.
All right,
And
awesome.
ladies.
Thanks, Doc. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, there you go. This is the post show, and I get to kind of hang out with you guys in the chat room. What do you guys think about Dr. Nick? This is kind of like, I've been reading your comments here on the YouTube chat, and it's been really fun to read, but I can't really, interact too much because I'm trying to ask a lot of questions and fascinating stuff. It's interesting, how much isn't it weird how, like, we have people on our show that are really into sort of one aspect of health, right? And it's interesting because you have people like Nick where his whole life is essential oils and essentialoilwizardry.com. I find it fascinating because I remember when we first started the podcast, this podcast back in 2012, Kate's dad said to me, are you sure there's enough to talk about, with health? There's enough to talk about? Are you going to run out of guests? And I just remember thinking to myself, like, wow, I don't know if he thought that we were just going to talk about the food pyramid, but my goodness, like there's a doctor that we're working on getting on the show. I forget what her name is, Dr. Sandra Cabot, I think, if my memory's correct. She's the liver doctor, and her whole career is liver. It's absolutely crazy what you can create and what happens when, it's really cool to see a guy like Nick and people, hyper concentrating and hyper focusing on different areas, not just different areas of health, but different aspects of creating products in different areas of health. There's so much that can be done. And so, yeah, we don't have any financial interest. Sometimes people will write emails in and, tell us that we shouldn't be doing shows about products and things like that. But, at the end of the day, in order for us to continue the work that we're doing here and bringing information to you, like we did a whole show yesterday with Zirin Kenny on Lyme disease, and we didn't talk about any products. The majority of people that come on the show don't have any products, but if they have good products and they're doing great work and they're good people, I would be remiss to not feature them because, products, we all have to buy products. We don't have to, but we all do. And so there's nothing wrong with that. And so I like featuring a guy like Jeff. Pretty cool guy, huh? Odette says here, Jeff, I've been using this mix for lungs. Marshmallow, mullein, lungwort, chickweed, lobelia, and pleurisy root. You can mix it yourself into a tea capsule form, and you can get it pre-mixed. Wow, interesting. I did a whole show, Odette, if you go on our YouTube channel, about on the lungs and all the different ways you can heal the lungs. And I was reading somewhere just recently that lung cancer is the number one cancer. Like people think prostate and, or colon or breast cancer, but it's actually lung cancer, which is absolutely crazy too. That's why we like to have, the clean air inside our homes. We bring in the plants into our homes. We're constantly doing that, working on that. We've got the the Air Doctor Pro that's in our store. And by the way, that nebulizer that I mentioned on the show, which was the Omron, that's available in our store too. But that's why we got to clean up the air where we live. Odette's Days. I love Dr. Barry. That's cool. Cool. I'm glad. Rebecca, thank you for joining us. Beck in the Extreme Health Academy. It's awesome to have you here. Jeff, great to have you here as well. You're an Animal says, I like the focus on Lyme disease since it's very similar to countless other disease processes have association with stealth pathogens. You're an Animal. Were you on the show that we did? I think you're down in San Diego, right? If my memory's correct. Did you hear the show that we did with Zirin Kenny on Lyme disease? Because that one was probably the most in-depth and probably the most powerful show that we've done on Lyme. And, there's a lot of information about Lyme that we can do more shows on it. And like you said here, it does have a association with other stealth pathogens and other diseases like Huntington's disease. Zirin was mentioning autism, ADHD, ADD, all these types of things that are basically what he was saying is Lyme disease. So if you haven't heard that show with Zirin, that was an awesome show. And here's what's cool about Zirin. He's basically a musician. He doesn't want to be doing any of this stuff. But what happened was he got bit by a spider bite. He didn't even get bit by a tick. It was a spider bite that gave him Lyme. And he was staying at a friend's house when it happened, and he got bit. He's probably laying on the floor or something like that, sleeping. But this was what's fascinating. His career and his job is a musician. He loves music. But, I don't know when it was, 8 years ago when this happened or so, or more, 10 years ago. This sort of spiraled his life into to what it is today. And so what he did was he took complete responsibility and complete ownership over his health and his life. And so here you have a disease like Lyme disease that no one really knows anything about. People speculate about it. Most doctors have no idea. Most doctors don't even have any idea in terms of how it relates to other diseases, and is it possible that other diseases are simply Lyme disease? Most doctors are clueless. Then you go back 10 years, they're even more clueless, right? So there's a lack of information as well 10 years ago. And then he gets bit, and he completely changes his life and researching. And listen to the show that we did with Zirin Kenny on Lyme disease. It was fascinating. He talked a lot about the different environmental toxins, the chemicals, the parasites, the chemtrails, the cell phone with the EMF. I mean, it was really, really deep. So interesting show that we did with Zirin. Just reading. Kiana, it's great to have you here. It sounds like you're friends with Dr. Nick there. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm really glad to have you here. It's cool. Let's see, just looking at your comments here. Jeff, yes, this mix helped too. So this is going back to Odette's mix for the lungs. It helps to expel all the mucus. Most important for people with lung issues is to try a mucusless diet. Yeah, the mucusless diet, that's the old Arnold Arorot books that I read back in the day, the mucusless diet healing system. Talk about a guy that experimented on himself. That guy was crazy, but he was really cool and bringing to light some interesting experiments on himself. A true scientist, really, when you think about it, right? Unobjectively looking at what was working for him, albeit anecdotal, but still he was working on himself like a scientist would. Interesting, right? You're an Animal says, we are land walking air fish. If I'm not mistaken, they say all the atmosphere was compressed into water. It would only be a 13-foot deep blanket covering the surface. Interesting, yeah. I never really thought about that. That sounds to me like, yeah, you're an Animal. That actually sounds like something Rudolf Steiner would have said. Jeff says, Odette's have just started to change my ways as regards to diet, starting with eating less. Yeah, Jeff, that's awesome. Yeah. Are you doing intermittent fasting or anything like that, Jeff? Curious. Whiskey Ace is here. Maria is here. Odette says fast. Yeah. One of the things I've been doing is fasting. I've been doing this for, a couple years. probably is doing fasting, intermittent fasting. So there's a lot of different types of fasting that you could do. There's the 5-2 program. There's a 6-1 program. There's different variations within those. And then there's the 1 day on, 1 day off eating. But none of those really work for me. I'm not a good faster, so I like to do the intermittent fasting, which I do every day. So typically what I'll do is I'll end my meals. Like let's say if I end at 6 p.m. a meal, I won't eat anything until about noon the next day. So last night, I think we finished dinner around 6:30, and it's 12:45 here in California right now. So I've noticed nothing but great things from fasting. I really love it. Having a framework that gives me a marginalized eating window and a structure upon which to have my eating schedule fit into has been super helpful. Like when I used to first get into natural health back in 2003, I would think if it's healthy, I can eat it no matter what. I can eat it whenever I want, whatever combination I want. And as I've progressed and gotten older, I've noticed that it's better and more important for me to control the amount of time that I am eating. And so some people like snacking all the time. Some people like doing that kind of thing. I like to have a window that I eat all my calories in, and then give my body a break to fast during those other times. Because when you're fasting, you're creating autophagy, and you're creating the body to be able to eat up its dead cells and things like that. And so you're not putting more food in your system that requires more energy. So fasting's been great. You're an Animal says, or Jeff says, the first video I saw when looking help for removing mucus was Extreme Health Radio a few years back. No way. That's awesome. Did we do a show on removing mucus a few years ago, Jeff? I wonder. I'm doing intermittent fasting, You're an Animal says, and urine animal therapy. What is that? Urine animal therapy? More often lately has helped my EMF sensitivity. Yeah, I know you've been having that EMF sensitivity quite a bit. You know what you might want to do, You're an Animal, is take a look at those devices that I did a spot for during the show. I'm not sure if you were here during that time, but they're the dirty electricity filters to your entire house or property. So you might want to look into that. They're from Shielded Healing, from Brian Hoyer's outfit, and it's pretty significant from the testing he did. I was really impressed with what he did. So that could be something for you to look into. But then again, EMF is a big issue, right? It doesn't just cover that particular product just covers dirty electricity. It doesn't even cover wireless or 5G or anything like that. So what is urine animal therapy? Kate is here. Awesome, Kate. Super late to the show in between twin feedings, but I'm here. Hey, Kate, I'm going to be coming home in just a few minutes. Let me know if you need me to stop anywhere on the way home, if you need anything. But Jeff says, I'm not sure if a good topic to go at right now, but I have done about 3 weeks a time with just drinking lemon, and when I was hungry, I grabbed a cappuccino. Don't try this at home. Why did you do a cappuccino on a fast? It sounds like, wow, that's a long fast. Yeah, that wouldn't be. They say it's more important to the way you break a fast than it is the amount of time that you actually fast. So, You're an Animal says it's a joke. It's funny with YouTube comments and stuff. I don't know what's a joke or what's sarcastic. So when you said urine animal therapy, I was like, what are you talking about? What is that? Urine animal therapy. I could not imagine what that was. Actually, I could. Didn't sound too good. Let's see if there's any other comments here. Cheryl is here. Awesome. And a lot of you people on Facebook. Jillian. So great to have you here, guys. I think I'm going to wrap up the show. Let me just make sure to let you guys know about our upcoming show, because you may be new to this to our site here. If you're listening on the podcast version, we're a couple months behind publishing. We just released a new podcast yesterday. But if you're listening to the podcast version, these episodes that I'm going to share with you have probably already been published, unless the guest didn't show up for some reason. So on Friday, we're going to have Krista Gerard. We'll be talking with her about, she's from the Center for Systemic Healing and we'll be talking with her about family constellation therapy, and this idea that our healing actually happens at a much deeper level within the realm of a family constellation. It's fascinating work. I think it's really interesting. So we're going to do more shows. I think the focus for me is like on the spiritual stuff, on, for me, light water magnetism, the things that really matter when it comes to our health, EMF, stuff like that. I think is really the crux of the healing, because if we're not healing, it's because of our environment. The environment we're living in is not optimal. We're not living in an environment that was suitable for human beings, really. But we're addicted to our technology. So if we're going to be addicted to it, then we need to make sure that we mitigate that stuff. Like Zirin was saying, he held up his cell phone a few times and says, this is a dangerous device, and it's really important that we understand this. The cell phones are dangerous, and they admit it on their package inserts. It's all there. So we just need to make sure that we understand that as the first step. Then on Monday, we have Dr. Brian Mole, and we are going to be talking about diabetes, blood sugar issues, and things like that. So that's going to be a cool show. Speaking of, I wanted to share with you guys this. We just released our latest course inside the Extreme Health Academy last night. I was able to get that up, and as you can probably see, just in our courses section, there's 229 videos consisting of 28 hours, 8 minutes, and 20 seconds. I mean, this is high level stuff. So we just rolled out the Adrenal Health Recovery Program 101 course last night. Deep Sleep Mastery was the one that was before that. Heart Health Optimization. So if you guys are really wanted to dive deep with your health, and if it sounds interesting to you to have a doctor explain all of this stuff and give you solutions, this is what Dr. Bergman is doing inside our academy. And I'm going to be doing some interesting videos on light and other aspects as well. Got a lot of stuff coming. We're going to be working with other practitioners as well. So a lot of cool stuff happening inside the Extreme Health Academy. I do want to say, though, that it's only for you guys that are really serious about your health. If you're not very serious, if you're just kind of, it's for people that are really looking for answers and people that are really into helping other people. Our community inside there is just thriving, and thousands of people in there talking and helping one another. So this is for those of you that are serious about your health and you want to take your health to new levels. We've got courses on yoga. How do you even get the healing process started? Where do you start with all this stuff? We have a full course. That's like a 4-hour course right there. And we've got the 3 stressors course, a guide to improving digestion. This is like high level stuff that I really want to let you guys know about. And if you are interested in the Extreme Health Academy and taking your health to the new levels, sign up. Go to extremehealthacademy.com, put in the code EHR14, and that will start your free 14-day trial. And that way you can test it out and introduce yourself to the community and make some friends and get some support and get some inspiration, some education, some motivation on your health and healing journey. And that's what it's all about. So yeah, thanks guys for sort of perusing our store, keeping everything free for everybody else. I really appreciate that. You guys are awesome. Still Earth Journey says, I'm still having a hard time slowing down cell phone usage. It's an addiction, truly. Anyone have advice? Well, it looks like there could be some dopamine issues going on, and the cell phone usage is extremely. It's a way to get a dopamine hit. And I would, if that were me, I don't have a cell phone, but if it were me, I would definitely work on your dopamine levels. Start by getting outside in the sun. So what is the opposite of getting out in the sun? The opposite is a vampire, and a vampire is basically what they're trying to turn us into, which is disconnecting us from the outside environment and getting us indoors. And so you look at anything that's happening in your life, and it's designed to keep you inside. And there's 2 issues with that. One issue is that you're being exposed to chemicals, blue light, all these things that lower dopamine levels. and it's extremely toxic and damaging. Being anywhere indoors, unless you're in a biologically compatible home that you've actually worked on, if you're indoors, it's putting a stress on your nervous system. It's not healthy. So that's the first thing. So the more people that are sick, the more profit margins for pharmaceutical companies. The other bad thing about being indoors is that you're not outdoors. So you're losing the beneficial effects of the Earth's atmosphere, of fresh air, of grounding, of magnetism, of biophotons from the sun, all these kinds of things. So simply being outside, if you have a backyard, just eat your dinner outside. If you look at any excuse you can to get outside. The healing is in nature. So if you don't get outside, you're going to have a hard time with these things that are allowing us to be in low dopamine states. So I would recommend going outside as much as you possibly can. And then listen to that show that we did with Zirin if you really want to know about, cell phones. And man, that was eye-opening, and he held it up, and it was fascinating. You're an Animal says, use a USB Ethernet adapter for your phone and put it in airplane mode. Yeah, after the show we did with Zirin, I realized there's 4 antennas to most phones, and I turn all 4 off now. I don't even have a cell phone connected to it. It's a phone, but it's not a, like you can't call out on it or receive calls. But so it's really important, man. If you're having an addiction to your cell phone, man, that's a serious matter, and I definitely work on that. Definitely work on that. Jeff says, I don't have a smartphone, still on the old 90s Nokia. Nice. I keep in the other room behind thick walls where it belongs. You know who was saying that too, Jeff, is someone was saying, Ken Rolla, the show that we did recently with Ken Rolla. He keeps his phone in the car because of the NSA and their connection with these companies and listening to your conversations. So there's been news studies about Amazon, things like that, with their, what's that device called? It's a Echo or something like that. But yeah, so that's why Ken keeps his cell phone in his car. Bad enough dealing with next door's EMFs, never mind my own. That's one of the things, Jeff, that is a real challenging problem. I'm not sure where exactly you're located, but the average American has anywhere from 4 to 7 wireless bidirectional devices on them, whether that's a laptop, cell phone, iPad, things like that. These things are bidirectional, and they're putting out frequencies as well as receiving them. And so the average person, so there's a video that Brian Hoyer did in our home assessment, and we live so close to our neighbors that I'm being affected by their deck phone. They run their business right out of their bedroom next to ours. And Brian determined that I'm standing in a field from their deck phone in their home, which is just crazy, right? And so that's the thing, is you can mitigate everything you can do on your own, but then you have other people's issues and their EMF and stuff like that. So it becomes a real problem. And they just call that population density. It's just too many people. And so I think there's going to be a real sort of going back to nature and going back to living in a more quiet environment and getting out of cities. I really think that's going to be a thing that people are going to start looking towards. Keon is still here. Awesome. I know Sophia Rose from Garden Party La Abeja Herbs has written about and also published about technological hygiene. Interesting. Wonder if that person would be good to get on the show. Yeah, Still Earth Journey with your phone, what you could do is turn off notifications. That's a good step. Definitely turn off your notifications. There's also ways to lower the blue light on your phone. If you go to lowbluelights.com, you can get a filter to put over the top of your phone. If you have an iPhone, you can go into the settings like I've done. If you go into our Instagram, I've done that a few times. And you can scroll through our Instagram, and I give the instructions on how to lower the blue light from your phone. But then go to, I like the ones from Defender Shield. Just get a EMF protection. So, and then turn off all 4 antennas on your phone. And then you got to get to the psychological aspects of why you might have low dopamine levels and why you might be addicted and things like that. So, but start by mitigating your phone first and foremost, and then you can start working on the mental connections and the mental addictions to that, and needing those dopamine hits. I suspect a big part of that is going to be reconnection with nature. The more we're reconnected to living a happy, healthy life, staying on point with our purpose and doing things that are helping people, things that we actually love to do, and we're inspired and motivated in our life, the more we have that, the less we need these dopamine hits. And so that's something to consider as well. But there's a lot of different angles and different ways. We've done some shows on addictions. There's all, if you wanted to take this even further, you can go into, there's a clinic in Mexico that we did a show in person with a founder of that show or that clinic, and they use ibogamine. I think it's Iboga Care Clinic or something. But talk about a substance, a plant substance that helps to kick addictions. It's ibogamine. So, or the iboga plant. So lots of different layers. I mean, that's kind of intense, but there's lots of different things you can do, that's for sure. Oh, you're in North Ireland. Wow, that's so cool. Jeff, that's awesome. Must be late there, no? It's 1 p.m. here, Pacific. Smartphones are constant stream of data, whereas old Nokia is packets spitting more. Okay, yeah. Yeah, a lot of people are going to the old Nokia ones now, which is cool. You can buy a bag to put phone into, cancels out all the signals, a few bucks only. Yeah, it's probably like some kind of silver bag. I know at lessemf.com they have those, low blue lights. So it's 9 o'clock there. Cool. Wow. So yeah, there's different things that you could do. If I had a cell phone, I would probably have a Defender Shield, cover on it. I turn off all the wireless and I put it into a pocket with clothes that have silver pockets in them. And you could do that. Zirin was saying there, he wears a silver shirt sometimes from lessemf.com. It's getting to the point where we have to really be on top of our health and mitigating these things, because it's unfortunate, but the powers that be and the people in this world, they want faster internet, they want faster communication, they want faster technology without any regard to our own health and healing. So the expense is our own health. And, if we're going to share the planet with these people that want these things, then we have to do our best if we're going to live in this world, to protect ourselves from that kind of stuff. And that's kind of the stuff that we're talking about on our show. We're reaching out to Dr. Martin Paul. He was going to be on the show soon, and he does a lot of work with EMF and 5G. And I was listening to something he was putting out recently, a talk that he has on YouTube, where he was saying that the calcium voltage ion gates channels of your cells get opened up when they're exposed, or when you are in an EMF field. So what that means is that your body does a really good job in keeping calcium out of the cell. All of the calcium is in the interstitial fluid in the blood. But what happens is that when this calcium gets in and actually enters into the cell, he was noting in his research hundreds of different disease processes will start to happen if the calcium gets into the cell, up to 1,000 times more calcium, actually. So it's going to be really fascinating to have him on. Hopefully we can get him here in the next couple months. But like Jeff's saying, 5G is the next big elephant. It's the elephant in the room that no one's talking about. And so we desperately need to change our environment. And, that's why I like having guys like Nick on, who are helping to optimize our human body, get healthier and healthier. Because that's one of the ways to, to mitigate EMF as well, is to become just healthier, be living in your purpose and having more energy. That's one of the ways to mitigate EMF. So, Jules Ann says, take bamboo silica. Yeah, silica is great, but how is silica related to EMF? Yes, bamboo is very high in silica, as is things like cucumber skin, things like that, really high in silica, which is also known as a beauty mineral. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that show. I should probably take off and go get some food. I'm getting hungry here. Thanks guys for watching. We really appreciate it. If you want to take your health to new levels, go sign up to the Extreme Health Academy. I'm telling you guys, you're going to love it. And when you do, removes metals. Yeah. And when you do sign up to the Extreme Health Academy, make sure to tag me so that I know you're there and we can have a conversation. That'd be fun. Bamboo silica. I know about organo-living silica. I know that's a product, but you can get bamboo as well. Organo-living silica has obviously incredible amounts of silica. Mark is here. Hi, Justin. Was late working. No way. Whereabouts are you from, Mark? Curious. Yeah, curious where all you guys are from. Jeff's from North Ireland. That's awesome. Rebecca says, Beck, I think she is in the forums. So Kenrilla said you can wrap aluminum around your phone. I've been doing that when I listen to you. Is that a good idea? I don't know. That's interesting. A lot of people have a lot of theories about this kind of stuff. I mentioned this to Brian Hoyer. If you listen to Dave Stetzer, he has a product that's similar to the Green Wave, but very outdated according to Brian Hoyer. But Dave Stetzer is an actual electrician, and he says that what you can do to offset all of the positive charges from all of the static buildup that we get from EMF during the day is that before you go into bed, you can stand on some tin foil for 20-30 seconds, and that helps to discharge all those extra electrons that we've been accumulating. I told that to Brian Hoyer, and he kind of laughed. But then again, Brian Hoyer's a building biologist. Dave Stetzer is an actual electrician. Who knows? But these are all simple little things. So Rebecca, with regard to what you said regarding Canrola and wrapping your aluminum around your phone, something within me thinks that that's right. I'd have to do some testing, but I think there's something about that could be good and beneficial. Jeff says, like you've said many times, get out and away from built-up areas. Take in nature as much as possible while we can. This is the solution, guys. What Jeff just said in the chat room, that's the solution. If we want to regain our health and get healthy and get rid of these diseases that we have, these modern diseases, these degenerative diseases, these diseases are literally degening us. And it's happening at the mitochondrial level. If we want to fix that stuff, we've got to get back to nature. We just got to. So Kate and I are joking around. I'm looking at now, after this home assessment with Brian Hoyer, it's funny because you want to make sure that you keep a level head about these things, right? So, if you listen or watch the videos that we're going to be putting on our YouTube channel soon, most of them are going to be going into the Academy anyway, and not going to be on YouTube. But you'll see that, like, from an audio perspective, we're living in an EMF nightmare. So it's challenging because on one level, you are looking at this environment that you're living in, and you don't see the EMF. Like, I don't see all the fields I'm sitting in right now, this blue light. I can see that, but I don't see all of this stuff, right? But when you hear it and you see it spiking meters and you realize, like, wow, I'm sitting right next to that wall or right behind my refrigerator that's putting out this huge magnetic field, or underneath a ceiling fan that's putting out a huge magnetic field, then you start realizing, like, wow, something about seeing is believing, right? So like what Jeff was saying, get away from built-up areas and take in nature as much as possible. I'm now starting to think, I'm on Amazon yesterday looking for tents. I'm seriously considering sleeping outside even during the winter to reconnect with nature, because that would be 8 hours that I could spend outdoors. And I'm thinking also about getting some outdoor furniture for our backyard so that I can take my laptop out there. And if I can get, let's say I work 8 to 10 hours a day, which is about normal or more, let's say 8 hours. If I'm able to get 3 or 4 hours of work outside, and then I'm able to sleep for 8 hours a day, so now I'm looking at like 11 hours. I'm looking at half my time I'm spending outdoors. And if you look at, like, when you were a child, how much time were you spending outside? You're spending most of your time outside playing with your friends, right? And that's when we have the most robust health, not just because we're children, but because we're living healthier. And so I'm starting to think, to myself, how can I get more time outside? Just simply being outside allows your sympathetic nervous system to just take a break. You're not nearly as stressed when you're outside because of the Schumann resonance, because of the magnetic field of the earth, because of fresh air, because of grounding, because of biophotons from the sun. Simply just being outside doing nothing other than just sitting there is doing more for your health than any product that we sell in our store. No product we have in our store can mimic the sun and grounding and being outside and being in nature. There's just nothing that compares. I am a big fan of the products because we can't do that. Ideally, it would be best to spend 100% of our time outdoors. But since we can't, if we can keep it at maybe 50%, then the products, take care of the other 50%, like the relaxed far infrared sauna that we have in our store, the Juve red light therapy, stuff like that can make up for that 50% of time that we're spending indoors. So that's the direction I'm going. Get more in nature. So getting a standing desk or getting some outdoor furniture, maybe trying to do some work outside, away from the electric fields in my wall. Because even if you mitigate all of that, you're still getting chemicals and from the paints, and it's just not good. So being outside, you just all of a sudden turn all that stuff off. So that's why that's so important. So sleeping outside, that's another thing I'm considering doing. I want to see, what would be amazing? I don't think they make this, but wouldn't it be cool to have a tent that's made out of silver with, windows or like mesh so that it lets fresh air in, but also prevents you from, being rained on. If you could get a tent like that, that would be cool. But even still, I'm looking at getting a tent and sleeping out in the backyard and just seeing how long, if I like it, if that's something I'd like to do, if I feel healthier, because simply getting outside is the solution. Odette says here, I like to walk outside barefoot to help discharge before bed. Helps to sleep. That's awesome. Yeah, discharging those electrons. Grab a radiator with both hands for a split second. Even you can even make a sukkah to sleep and eat in like we did for the holy feasts. You know what too? I was thinking about doing is a sukkah is like a yurt. Wouldn't that be cool? Get a little yurt in your backyard, spend some time there, do your work there. That's one of the reasons too. I've moved my entire gym to either the garage or to the backyard because of this reason. Because just getting outside, that's one of the challenges we're having too with our kids right now, is getting them outside. They're like 3 months old or whatever. Trying to get them outside as much as possible. Jeff says, if you grew up in the 70s, 80s, or before, you're a lucky one. Yeah, I grew up in the 80s. So born in 75, had so much fun in the 80s being outdoors. So amazing. Rebecca says, that's what I'm doing right now, in the woods, stacking wood, listening to this show. Wow. Phone is aluminum in my pocket. Beautiful sunny day. Whereabouts are you located, Beck? Where are you? That sounds like a great place. We're talking with, it's interesting. This guy here today, Nick, from Ashland, Oregon. We talked to Yarrow Willard, who's like an herbalist. He's up in Seattle. He spends a lot of time in the woods. I don't know. I'm starting to think that it's time to spend some time in the woods. Yurts are where it's at, Kate says. Kate says we're the same person, two bodies. That's true. All right, guys. Well, I love you very much. Thank you guys for being on the show. Make sure to get outside, get your essential oils, start looking into that. I'm going to put those links to those books in the chat room too, or I'm sorry, on the show page, and start educating yourself about essential oils, because the last thing you want to do is realize that like, oh, I've got some kind of an infection, like I've got a flesh-eating bacteria or I've got staph infection, and then to learn about something like MMS, which can help with that, right? Stabilize oxygen. So like you want to learn about these things before anything ever happens with your life, so that you can have access to these things and know about them, so that if something ever does happen, you know exactly where to go and get your information. Rebecca is in Ohio. It's cold and sunny. No way. Wow. Must be coming in the winter there, huh? Cool. All right, guys. Well, I must be getting going now. Stay tuned for our show on Friday. I think that one's going to be a fun one. We're going to talk with Krista Gerard about family constellation therapy. And if you're, Beck, I know you're a part of the Extreme Health Academy, and you've seen me mention a lot about recall healing and things like that in the academy. And I think it's really the root cause of our suffering. And this stuff goes deep, guys. It goes deep. So it's not just physical. It's not just like getting an herb to fix a headache. It's getting to the root cause. And the root cause to all of our health issues, I think, is spiritual, emotional. I don't even think I know that that's the root cause. So that's why it's so important to get to the root cause. And then you can also do all this other stuff, right? You can do your essential oils. You can do your homeopathics. You can do your IV vitamin C therapy, your coffee enemas, your green juices, your medicinal teas, all that stuff. But getting to the root cause. Colloidal silver, use that in your life. Yes, we like colloidal silver. We take the scalar silver that's been infused with scalar technology, according to what is her name? It's in our store. It's called Accelerated Silver. Sarah Banta. Yeah, we like her silver, and that's the silver we nebulize as well. So, all right, guys. Well, I think I'm going to cut it off here. This was episode 629. If you're listening on the podcast version, you can grab the show notes at extremehealthradio.com/629. Thank you for your support. Thank you for visiting our store and looking for health products on there. That helps keep the show free. We appreciate that. Also, thank you guys for your support on Patreon. A lot of you guys are doing that, and we appreciate that a lot. If you like the work that we do and just want to send us a couple bucks a month, you can do that on PayPal or Patreon, and that's what helps keep the shows free. Maybe you're not interested in any of the products that are in our store, and so you can support us on Patreon. That we would greatly appreciate that. It just takes a couple minutes to set up and send us a couple bucks a month. And we appreciate it. Rebecca, have a great rest of your day in the woods, stacking wood. That sounds pretty cool. Chopping wood and carrying water. Yeah, have a great rest of your day in Ohio, and I'll see you in the forums as well in the Extreme Health Academy. So appreciate you guys so much. Love you very much. Let me bring up our little disclaimer. Make sure that we don't make any claims here, because the only thing that can heal a person is pharmaceutical drugs and surgeries, right? Only medical doctors can heal people. Just want to let you guys know that. All right, guys. Tongue in cheek. Love you very much. We love you, and I'll catch you guys on Friday at 10:45 a.m. Pacific, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye.
No material on this blog is intended to suggest that you should not seek professional medical care. Always work with qualified medical professionals, even if you educate yourself in the field of live food, nutrition, and alternative medicine. I'm not a doctor, nor am I offering readers medical advice of any kind. None of the information offered here should be interpreted as a diagnosis of any disease, nor an attempt to treat or prevent any disease or condition. While information in this blog is discussed in the context of numerous conditions, it can be dangerous to take action based on any information in this blog or to start any health program without first consulting a health professional. The content found here is for informational purposes only and is in no way intended as medical advice, as a substitute for medical counseling, or as a treatment/cure for any disease or health condition, and nor should it be continued as such. Always work with a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to your diet, prescription drug use, lifestyle, or exercise activities. This information is provided as is, and the reader/viewer assumes all risks from the use, non-use, or misuse